Am I not able to hear anything or class hasn't started yet? Anybody can anybody please?
हेलो सर 5 मिनट में ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं
Okay, okay.
Hello everyone, good evening.
गुड इवनिंग सर
Good evening. Your voice is breaking a bit, Anshul. We're waiting for other people to join.
So we were waiting for you.
That number is below 10 of attendees. Where are others, by the way?
Let me ask in the official 1 minute.
Yeah. Please ask and let me know, na? Else we'll start. If they're joining a bit late, we can start. I think we can start. Guys, have you downloaded the setup of MySQL that I had asked?
You asked us to get that download and you said you'll instruct us.
The setup is there, right? Downloaded.
Yeah.
Can
Yes.
anyone share their screen? I will guide you how to install, and more than guiding you on how to install, I'll explain each and every step of the process and what does it signify. So who can share their screen?
Sir, I can do that.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yes.
Please open
So
that.
just wanted to confirm, will the steps will be similar for the Mac iOS?
Yes, more or less similar. You just, instead of double clicking, you'll have to run it through a command. Otherwise, more or less the options are same. And not only for MySQL, the steps we'll understand, it applies to almost all relational database softwares because it's an important part. So let us go through it, you will get it.
Oh, no.
So,
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you.
oh, you have already installed, is it?
Yes, sir. A set of instructions came.
No. I need someone who hasn't yet installed.
Okay, okay.
Hmm. Who can share who hasn't yet installed?
Guys who are sharing, so
Anyone?
anyone?
Anyone can go who hasn't yet installed. Just need someone. Anyone would like to volunteer?
Shall I start?
Yes, please. Are you sharing, Gayatri?
Oh,
Yeah.
please, sir.
Yeah,
Allow.
sure.
Can you see?
Yes. You can grant that access anyways. It's fine. You have done that. You have also installed. Oh, it's Postgres. Okay. You can go to the MySQL installer and you can double click on that, or you can install it through a command.
So what is the first step to download it?
You have downloaded the package, right? Double click on that disk image. Double click on that again. Yep.
Says can't be installed.
Go to the website again, please. Let me check if you downloaded the right one.
Able to use our column name aliases in a where clause. So it
I think you played something,
the
Gayatri.
records
Yeah,
table,
yeah.
then it runs this where clause, then it selects the columns and sets the column name alias, and then the final thing that PostgreSQL does behind the scenes.
You can reshare.
So which should I download?
I'm not able to see your screen. Can you reshare and show me? Go to the browser, please. Yep. Mac OS. Select your OS version and do one thing. Drop the version from 8.3.0. Click on the drop down. Drop it to yes 8.0.36. That's fine. Now wait. Mac OS. Yours is an ARM-based system, right?
Yeah.
DMG tar. Scroll down. Hmm.
Intel.
It's an Intel, right? It's Intel. Which version is it? MacBook Pro 2019 processor Intel. Okay, then not ARM. Fine. So you will go for second one, right? x86. Yes. Go for that. No, no thanks. Just start my download. There is an option, right? Give it a second. It's important to choose the right version. I think you have probably chosen the first one. That's why it was not able to install. How long is it showing to download?
Four minutes.
Anyone else who has a Windows system and has the setup or installer available? Who can share the screen?
Shall I stop the
I
sharing?
have
Yeah, please share them. The steps will be the same for you, Gayatri. You can just double click after that and you can start. Yeah, please share now. Let's get this over with. It is important to understand because we'll see some fundamental concepts of a SQL server. Any SQL server, doesn't matter if it is Postgres, if it is MySQL, we'll understand some concepts involved. Yeah, please share. Yeah, Ritik. Yes, MySQL. Yeah, the installer. I'm able to see. Yes. Double click on the installer, please. Give it a second. Okay. Visual. Copy that Visual Studio. It's fine. It's fine. Copy Visual Studio redistributable. There are some dependencies at times. Click on finish. Click on finish. Run it again before clicking next or sign anything. Just see which Visual Studio it is saying. Visual Studio 2019 x64 redistributable. Just go to Chrome and download that. It will be a small file, not very large. You can copy that text if possible. No, right? Then you need to type it on Chrome. Go to Google. Just download that. Usually it comes with Windows, but I think it's missing from your laptop for some reason. So it's asking you to download. 2019, I think. X60, it's there. Go back. Second link. Scroll down. It's Visual Studio. Go back 1 second. No, scroll down, scroll down. What is that dialog box showing? Show me again. This giving you redistributable. You have clicked on distributable. Just go back 1 step. Click on the first link again. Download the latest one. It's okay. x86. Yours is ARM based or don't click on ARM. You will be on Intel chip, right? Most likely. x86 means 64-bit. Just check once in your about machine. Just search in the search bar, type about your PC. Yeah, it's an Intel 64-bit. Yeah, then close. See, whenever you see 64-bit, you no 64-bit is not x64. Go back. 64-bit is x86. x86 and x64 are instruction sets. See, broadly speaking, there are two kinds of chipsets in the industry. Either your system will be having an ARM-based processor. ARM is an architecture. AMD company, it is famous for producing ARM-based processors. Your mobile processor like iPhone processors and all are all ARM-based processor. The new MacBooks have changed over, right, to M1 processor, M2, M3 processor. Those are again ARM-based processors. ARM was one architecture, and back in the 1900s, mid 1900s, Intel was also becoming a giant, and they came up with their own architecture, which is x64 or x86 architecture. That is Intel architecture. Okay, if you have an Intel-based system, either your machine will be having an x64 or x86 architecture. That is the instruction set. I'm diving into now the basics of like computer designs. So x64 basically divided by 2, it will be 32. So 32-bit system. x86 means 64-bit system. So if you are having a 64-bit system, which is the general norm, generally, if you have a modern laptop, Intel based, you will have a 64-bit processor. So you should go for x86 versions of software. But if you're having a MacBook, like what Gayatri had, if you are having a rather new MacBook, ARM based one, Gayatri had an Intel one. So ARM based means you should go for ARM version. So you should not go for first or third option. You should go for second one. I hope it is clear. It will come up in many downloads over time. All softwares have these different versions. So I think you should be a bit clearer. You can install that.
Sir, while installing, should we use like use legacy password encryption or strong password encryption?
Don't proceed. If you are already at that screen, stay there. In fact, come back. I'll show it to you. You should use legacy, but I'll tell you why. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Hmm. Installing it is no rocket science. You can click next and you will get it installed. But we have to understand the steps and what each one means. That's how you can do troubleshooting later on. Done, close. Can you reboot the setup? Go to that same MySQL installer and try to install it again. You can close this one. Current one you have to close first.
Okay.
Yeah, close this. Okay, cancel. Go to the new one. Click. Click. It will require a system reboot. Anyways, you can stop sharing. Who else is on that setup screen? Gayatri, you or Vinod?
I am there, Vinod. Sir. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, please.
Can you just stop your sharing? I cannot start sharing while other.
Ritik, you can stop sharing.
Is my screen visible?
Can you go back? You have come a long way.
Uh,
Do one thing, quit this installer. We'll start over again.
okay.
Uh, Start, please. Uh, Allow. Continue.
Next.
Yep. General license. Agree. Continue. In Windows, it will just look a bit different. Now, this is a very important step. One just small detail, and it will come up in many software installations as well. When you are installing for only yourself, you are installing for the current user of the system. If you are installing for all, you are installing for as many user accounts are there. But in production, as you might know, or in enterprise machines, laptops, company laptops, you will not have access to all users. The root user is not your user, right? It's the protected user. So you probably can't install for all users of a system in a proper corporate laptop. Therefore, some capabilities that we are able to perform or we will be able to perform on our personal devices now, some of them, not the major ones, will be limited or restricted. You can't freely create database anywhere and do all of that. You can freely access any files. So some of those things will be restricted because you will be installing for only current user, and current user has restricted permissions. For example, in corporate laptops, you can't, let's say for example, install just any software randomly without having password of admin user, or you can't uninstall also software randomly. You can't delete C drive or program files content from your own user account. All of those things will still be restricted in MySQL as well. You can click on continue for now. It's okay. Continue.
Sorry.
Hmm. Now, yeah, install your password. In Windows, the steps are just slightly longer, just more number of options. That's it. Click on next, next, next. Okay. In Windows, and you will also arrive at a similar destination. The main thing is the configuration part. We'll see that.
Last time it was faster.
It's okay. Let it be.
Yeah.
This time, probably it is deleting those files first and then.
Yeah.
Now, you have two options. First one, strong password is encryption and my legacy password encryption. Now, before going into that, just a bit of background. When you're installing MySQL, what are you installing? Are you installing just one thing or multiple things at the same time?
Multiple, like MySQL.
Multiple as in
MySQL whole package, right?
package means what does it contain? That's what I'm implying.
Workbench.
Workbench, my
Which is secondary. Main component, whenever you install any database server, Postgres, MySQL, Oracle, any database server, there are certain components. Let me tell you about them. First is the server itself. Server means that will allow you to create tables, interact with tables, create database, delete database, all of that, right? That whole thing is the server, database server that allows you to create. Along with the server, you also install a client. Okay. So in actual systems, let's say you are a web developer, you will typically not get the server. You can only install, you can even search online and you can only install MySQL client also. You do not need to install the whole package to use MySQL. What will be the difference if someone has the server versus someone only has the client?
server. I mean, we can only post the request. We will not process it on that one. It will goes to server and there it will be
Correct.
processed.
In this case, your system is hosting the data actually, right? The
Yeah.
databases which will be created, the tables and all will be in your system because you have the server. But if let's say you are working in a project, there will be one server, let's say on AWS RDS, one remote server, and everyone working in the project will install the client and be given credentials, and through that they will be connecting to the same server. That's how all of them will work. So you don't need always server to use database. You are fine with only the client as long as the server exists somewhere. Doesn't have to be in your system. But in this case, we are installing the server and the client both in our system. Along with that, some multiple forms of clients, not just one. You are installing the command line client, Workbench you mentioned, which is a GUI client or graphical user interface client. I had asked you to install dbeaver also, that is another graphical user client, multi platform graphical user client. So there are different types of clients as well. But more or less, all of them allow you to do the same things, run queries and all of that, create tables, blah, blah, blah. So what will happen if we choose strong password? The client that we will get installed in this through this process will be a rather modern client. So I'll tell you a bit about MySQL especially, and all databases have this kind of history. So MySQL latest version is what? Anyone noticed?
8.0.36.
You in any software you do not typically have to remember the minor versions. 8.x, any version of 8 you are using version 8. If you go back beyond that, there is no version 7. There is no version 6. The version before that was 5.x. And to be very precise, it was 5.7, which was the previous version before you moved into 8 because of several reasons and company policies and takeover by Oracle and all of that. Now, before 5.4 was the major version. Every software has a point in its evolution where a lot of things change. A lot of things did change for MySQL when it went from version 5.5 to 5.6 and especially 5.7. Lot of internal changes happened in MySQL. The core architecture, a lot of facilities, functionalities changed. Even more so when it jumped from 5.7 to 8. That's why it's such a major change. Now, if you are going to install using strong password encryption, the server that you create over here will always use strong password by default. So older clients, maybe there are systems, your friends or some other colleagues have systems which have older clients, like client version is 5.7 or 5.6. They will not be able to connect to your database server because their clients don't even have this functionality of strong password encryption. So they can't get to connect with your server. Your server will be less accessible. If that is a feature that you want in your project, good, go for it. It's better, it's stronger, it's more secure. But if you want more accessibility, if you want any kind of system to be able to connect, be it 4.0 client or 5.7 or 8.0 or 8.3 client, then you should go for legacy password encryption. This remains uniform from the early days of MySQL. So this is simple password based authentication. So you should, for maximum interoperability, you should go for the second option. Okay? Clear now what are these two options?
Yeah, Akash, I did these steps before and I use a strong password encryption. So I
It's
think that,
fine.
yeah, and yeah,
No, just understand this.
yeah.
Realistically, it doesn't make a difference while using it, at least in your own system. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, if I work with previous version, that might cause an issues, right?
Right. Click on
Oh,
next, please. Hmm.
Create
Now
my own.
notice one thing. Before you enter the password, notice one thing. There is a default user created over here. Even in Windows, you will find the same thing. They will ask you for two fields, in fact, in Windows setup. One for password and another for confirming the password. Now, here, the default user is always root, ROOT. It is always called that. In almost all relational databases, when you create or set up the database, by default, and you can't change the name also. You can change it later with much more shenanigans. By default, the primary user of the database is root. There needs to be at least one user, right, for the database to work. And that user is the root user. You will set up a password for that. You can set up any password. You can keep it simple or complex. It doesn't really matter. It's in your local, right?
I have to, I think, stop sharing because it is not allowing me to enter.
Okay, yeah, it's Mac. Yeah, just stop sharing, enter the password and reshare. I'll also just
Give me
quickly
one,
get the
yeah,
bit.
1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, I'll share again. Visible?
Yeah,
Yes.
visible.
Yes. Okay. Now finish. Now after this in by default, so root user, in Windows setup, there are some additional steps. First, you can create more users also if you want at the time of setting up MySQL. Second, in Windows, you will get an option where it will ask you for a port number thing. In MySQL, in Mac or Linux, you don't generally don't get that option. What is port number for a software? Does anyone have an idea what is a port number in a system?
Basically, where we exactly hit, the application on my client side. So when we are working on a production environment, then generally, like on servers are different way. So that is the port that will carry our request, and on that port it will hit it, and then from there it will be working.
Mhm.
In our
But
local host, normally we have like 8080 usual port number, which basically we hit it directly.
no, not that.
Sure. Okay. Then I'm not sure.
8080, you are partially right. 8080 is typically exposed because of the PHP days of web development. Typically, applications used to run on 8080.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's where it came from. Port number is like a virtual address. So think of your entire system as one flat or one apartment having many floors, many houses in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say you give the address of the apartment. All the people living in that apartment will have the same address, as in street number, block number, right? Locality, colony, and all of that will be same. How do they then distinguish between themselves when a parcel comes? How does it get delivered to different houses? Through the door number, right? Or floor number, door number, like that. Consider door number only or house number, like flat B101, flat B102, B103, or so on and so forth. Similarly, your entire system, think of it as one machine having one address, that is the IP address of your machine that you get. IP address is the address of your entire machine. But your entire system has many softwares running inside it. Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, Spreadsheet, Chrome, SQL Server now got installed as a software, right? Different softwares. If you run a Node.js application, that's also a software for your machine. If you run a Java or Spring application, that's also software for your machine. These are all different softwares in the same machine. So when you connect your system to the internet, the address of your system is your IP address. But when once the request reaches your system, which software is it intended for? That is figured out by the port number that is given along with the request. So, for example, let's say my system address is 172.5.8.12. That's my IP address. But in it, I want to send a request to my MySQL server, not to my MS Word. There is another request to my MS Word coming from the internet. So the request to Word will have a different port number. Let's say an abstract port number like 25306. Port numbers can start typically first 2 to 3000 port numbers are reserved for internal softwares or services. Generally, softwares don't have port numbers. To be more technical, services have port numbers. They are called services if they're running continuously in the background. Now, each service will have a unique port number. You cannot run two services on the same port number at all. That's how you identify them in the same in the same system. So by default, each software has a default port number where it gets installed. Like if you run a Spring application, Spring Boot application, it by default gets started on 8080, or a PHP application also gets started 8080. A React application gets started on let's say 4000, or 3200. Angular gets started on 4000, stuff like that. You can change it very easily. It's an abstract number only. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be 8080. It can be anything, typically till 65,000 something. Modern machines even have a higher ceiling for port numbers. You generally tend to leave out the first 3000 port numbers because those are almost always taken up. Now, so MySQL by default or other relational databases also, when you install them, when you are going to run them, ultimately, if you're going to run your server, it is going to run as a service in your system. It is going to run in the background constantly. That's how it will be able to provide the data to other applications. If you run it as a service by default, MySQL service runs at port number 3306. That's its default configuration. 3306. It's a very popular port number again. Now, generally, this is good, all good if you have only one MySQL server. Sometimes in development, let's say you have a personal project, you have a company project, or you have several projects of your own, and different projects are using different databases or different versions of the same database. For example, I have an older project which is using MySQL 5.7, and I am starting a newer project which is going to need MySQL version 8.0.36. These are two different versions. I now need to install and simultaneously run two different versions of MySQL. But as I just told you, they both can't run on the same port number, correct? So one of them has to run on 3306, let's say, and one of them has to run on a different port number like 3307 or 3308. So generally, when installing, especially on Windows, since you have this option easily available, I will suggest people to change the port number where you see 3306 typed, nothing else. There will be an X protocol port, blah, blah, blah. Those don't deal with those. Just the port number, change it just slightly to 3307. Why? I suggest it for a reason. Because A, when you change it, 3306 is now free. If you are now going to install a software like WAMP or XAMPP, or if you are installing or if you are using Ubuntu inside Windows through WSL, then over there, when you are installing MySQL, just like Mac, you don't get a lot of options to configure the port number. In Windows, if you have already installed MySQL on 3306, it will not allow you to install the MySQL on Ubuntu in WSL. So it's better to keep it free, especially in Windows system. So have it free. Just change it slightly to 3307 when you install, and that's it. And then you can install any software like WAMP, XAMPP. You do not even need to change their port number, which is more difficult. That's the simple reasoning. And I hope this thing about port number is clear to all.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you are going to connect, let's say you are working in an enterprise project as a database developer or as a database expert, and you are going to connect to your AWS RDS database. You don't have the database in your system, obviously. You will need two, three things. Remember, from a client, whenever you are going to connect to any server, doesn't matter if it is MySQL server, Postgres server, Java server, Node.js server, Python server, doesn't matter. The concept of client server is that client needs two, three things only to connect to the server. One, the web address of the server. That will be your system's IP address. Which systems? The client system or the server system?
Server.
Client system.
Server. Correct. The address of the server, if you need to deliver a order at a particular house, you need the street address of the house to be delivered, not the warehouse from which the order is coming, right? So
Yeah.
that will be the IP address of the system. Next, IP address gives you the entire system. Now you need the port number to figure out which software is this request destined to, or which service is this request destined to. So let's say I am hitting MySQL. So it will be probably destined to 3306 port number. Now, not all port numbers, let's say now Vinod is installing MySQL on her system or has already installed in 3306 port number. She can run it as well. It will run on her system. But will I, sitting over here with an internet, you are also connected to internet, I am also connected to internet, will I be able to access your MySQL server? No, I won't. Because in any system, by default, all ports are blocked from internet access. Like people are outside of your system cannot access your ports even if they know your IP address. They cannot make request or send request to your services through internet even if they know your IP address. Those are all blocked. So all ports are blocked by default in any standard system. That is done for security reason. So therefore, if you want it to be accessible, you have to make it publicly accessible. There is a small registry change that you need to do. You need to expose a particular port of your system to the internet. That can be done by some simple scripting. That is what is needed. Otherwise, even if you run it, even if you're connected to internet, I cannot access your SQL server. But if you expose that port number, if you give me your IP address, then I can, or anyone can who has internet, anyone can fire a request. So that's same policy. Why I'm telling you? Because later on I will also show you towards the end how to host a SQL or MySQL server on the cloud, on AWS cloud. Same concepts that we are discussing now will be applicable there. These fundamentals are important because a cloud system is also like a brand new laptop, nothing fancy. People get intimidated by cloud, but in order to work with clouds, it's as easy. If you visualize it as a blank laptop, it will be easy to work. It's nothing else, a blank laptop with an internet connection. Someone else.
Sir,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. Sir, this making IP public or probably the port
Not
public
IP
through some
port, yeah.
registry change, is this only applicable in the case of SQL Server, or it can be made applicable to any software?
Any software. Let's say
Okay.
I'm running a React application in my system. I'm able to see it fine, but you can't make a request to it unless I make that port number on which React is running, like let's say 4200 public. Unless that port number of my system is public, nobody else can access it.
Okay. Okay.
Same will happen in cloud also. Even if I install a SQL Server on the cloud, I have created tables or databases in it. Unless I expose a port number of that cloud instance to the internet, I will not be able to access it, even if I have a client. Okay? So that's an important concept we need to do. Thankfully, with AWS, Azure, or GCP, it's very easy to do. When you are setting up the EC2 instance, it will give you an option that what port numbers you want to expose. It's very, very easy to do over there. Clear? Got it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
now click on close.
Yes,
please.
sir.
You can delete the installer. It's not required. Move to bin.
Okay.
You already installed, right? Installer is not required.
Yeah.
Now open your terminal. Yeah. How do you start MySQL? Anyone?
No
So
idea.
the command version is, okay? Command version is MySQL, type MySQL, then give a space, type -u. This is a flag. Generally, in Linux-based system or Unix-based system, to be more specific, Mac is a Unix-based system. -u or these commands, in Windows also on PowerShell, these commands will have flags. Flags are additional things that you provide along with the command. So the base command here is MySQL. To it, I am additionally providing a username. -u stands for username. Give a space and write your primary username. You only have one user. What was that?
My laptop username, right?
Root.
Root.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Then give a space. Then type -p. -p means you will provide the password. Not here in the same command, password for security reasons. You hit enter. After that, it will ask you for the password. Enter your password that you set over there. Sudo, I think. Start with sudo. Sudo MySQL.
Using password, yes.
You will need sudo. You need to run this command with sudo. Sudo MySQL. Then -u. Then root. First, then it will ask you a system password. Okay. So first enter system password.
This is my system password, right?
Enter system password.
Okay.
If it doesn't work, we'll fix it. Now enter MySQL password.
Okay.
It's a bit confusing, but you can figure it out by enter password and password, right? There is a slight difference. What happened?
For wrong password, it also says the same thing.
Same thing. Not much of a. Do one thing. Change the order. Sudo MySQL. Enter. Enter. Enter MySQL password first now. No, it's now not asking for the system password, right? Enter your system password again here. Enter your system password.
Sorry, yeah, 1 minute.
Okay, fine. Then it is not running as a service, but I'll tell you the fix. Happens typically. First time when you install, it's not running as a service yet.
Already explained me an error you cannot
Okay,
call a
I
method
think.
What
on a
happened?
null valued expression.
Okay, you got it right.
Welcome to the MySQL monitor. Yeah.
Perfect. Now you are in MySQL mode. There is a very slight distinction. How will you know whether you are in terminal or in MySQL terminal? This is MySQL terminal. This is no longer normal terminal. By MySQL, yes. The prompt over there, right? Now you are in MySQL mode. You can just check, type a command, show tables or show databases. Type show space databases.
Base or
Basis, yes.
Here I'm facing
Semicolon.
issue.
Semicolon.
Hello.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Here I'm facing it. So I've installed the MySQL and it's visible on a system preference. But while typing these commands, I've seen that MySQL is not installed. Like no command not found.
In Windows or Mac,
Mac.
I'll come. Semicolon.
Okay.
Should I give semicolon?
Semicolon, semicolon. Select both, Ritik. Sakila and Walt. Those are sample databases, Ritik. Nothing else. Semicolon. Huh. Yes, enter. Did you give a colon? You gave a colon. Okay. Just
Wait, wait,
give
wait.
again, type the same command with a semicolon. Show databases, semicolon. Not colon. Huh.
No, it
Enter.
was directly taking it.
These are the pre-installed databases. Okay, I'll tell you also briefly what these databases mean. Generally, you don't have to mess with them or even think about them when working with MySQL, but you should know what they are. MySQL, there are three. Sys is stands for system database. Stores the system configuration, your configuration of MySQL server and all. Okay. Performance schema will store all query execution plans that get created whenever you execute a query. Information schema, it's very important. It will store all stored procedures, the names of the tables inside a database, right? You can increase the font size a bit, full screen. And then I guess probably zoom in, just scroll in or command and plus, try command and plus.
Better?
Yep, better now. Others were asking for it. I was able to see.
Anybody? Better?
Yes, Vijay said better.
Yes.
Okay. So performance schema, sys is for system preferences of MySQL server. MySQL is the default information settings and other such metadata that comes installed with MySQL. So those are stored in MySQL database. You can even open and explore the database. It won't make much sense at this point, but just know that information schema is very important because that's the database where you store all the database names that you create, table names of the data inside the database you will create. All of those go and get stored in information schema. Things regarding how many columns are there in your tables, what are the column types, and all of that metadata about constructs in your database server, they get stored in information schema. Information about the elements, the parts of your database. Now, you generally don't need to work with any of these tables at all, but do know that wherever required, I'll tell you a bit more about it. Okay, Vanshika, yes.
Actually, when I am typing MySQL and username on terminal, I am getting the response as MySQL is not recognized as name of a command line.
It's Windows.
Yes.
You can't start like that. Vanshika, you can share your screen after this. I'll let you. I'll tell you how to start in Windows. It's a bit different. And I'll also tell you the reason why. Okay.
Okay.
Huh. Okay. Complete. Jai Singh.
Should
Choose
I?
the type is complete. Wait, let us do a few more things. Now, let us do two simple operations. Then I'll move to Vanshika. Let us create our database. What is the command to create a database? Yes, how far? I heard that hands-on has started this Sunday in a regular class, right?
They
Yes.
started this.
What have you guys seen? What have you guys covered?
Till select query is covered.
How to use, how to create database
Mhm.
and how to access database.
Okay. Basic select query or complex select query?
No, he was about to start the select query. So
Sir, it was just basic now.
manipulation documents.
Just started last on
Okay.
Sunday.
Got it. No problem. Yeah, create a database. So create database, the name of the database, right? Give it first underscore DB. my first underscore db or first underscore db, anything like that. Generally, notice here, there's a reason I'm saying first underscore db and not first hyphen db or first space db, although you can give space in modern databases. Notice the name of the internal tables also. All of them are snake case, right? The names or the words separated by underscore. That's a typical convention that is followed, not a rule, but a convention. So we'll also stick to that. It's a good practice anyways. So generally, this is how you will name databases. If there are multiple words, separate them by underscores. Okay, enter. Okay, now how will you check if this database got created or not?
Show
Sorry.
data.
Show databases.
Same command, show databases again. Hit up arrow 2 times. Enter. Created. Now, how will you use this database? You are now outside of any database. Think of it like this. You have just logged into your Windows machine or your system. You haven't yet opened any folder in your PC. So you're outside of all folders. Now you need to go into a specific folder to do some tasks. So you need to now double click on that folder, right? Same thing in database terms we do by using a command called use. So use, type use space first the name of the database, first DB. Okay. Semicolon. Yes, enter. Now it's like double clicking and going into a folder. Okay. Now you are in first DB folder. So any tables you will create, any tables you will delete, anything you will do will be inside that database and other databases won't be affected. Okay. You can create a table. First table.
Student?
Anything. It's your wish.
Sorry, what happened?
Do one thing now. Instead of typing, let's also take this opportunity. Just open your browser for a second. Open your browser.
Table
You
must
can't create a table like that. That's
Acha, sorry, I didn't write the full command.
Open your browser. Search for any create table command in SQL. From the documentation only we will pick, and I'll also explain it at that moment. Search for create table command. Search in MySQL. There are some differences between other SQLs and MySQL, right? As I told you. So just to be safer whenever you are running a command, just to unnecessarily avoid any errors, be specific with your searches. Don't go. That is fine. That is fine. That is the official. This is the official documentation. You can definitely go for it. Scroll down. Let's copy this. Here we are creating how many tables?
One pet table with the
No, 2 tables.
what create table pet na? The
species.
owner. No, this is one species expert death. How 2 table?
No. Sorry, my bad. I read it as a semicolon. That's a different command. It's a one table. Copy. Copy, paste it. Wait, before you run it, let's read. So the for syntax of a creatable command is of course the word creatable. Additionally, you can also write after creatable if not exists. One issue is you cannot directly click the cursor and take your cursor over there. That's a very big issue with MySQL terminal. That is the case. So it's generally preferred when you start working with more complex commands. I'll advise you to first write the command either in a notepad or in a VS Code like file where you can freely move your cursor, do things. And then once you have the final version of the command, come here, just copy paste and try to run. If there is any correction needed, do it there, copy paste and run. That's a very good practice that will save you a lot of time. Because if you start writing a very long command and by mistakenly, if you hit up arrow, or it has happened with me also, you will lose the entire command. Or if you need to go back, it's like a lot of cursor processes. So instead of going into all of that trouble, better to write the command elsewhere, edit it and just copy and paste it and run it here. So create table, the name of the table is pet, right? And you can also write create table if not exists. If not exists will first check if there is already a table with that name. It will not create any new table. If there is no table with that name, then only it will create. It is a slightly safer option because sometimes what happens, not in modern SQL, but in older SQL, if you have a table, let's say called pet, and then someone runs a command like this, create table pet without if not exist, it will completely erase that table and replace it with an empty table. So there is a chance for data loss. Better to just have that insurance in our query and write create table if not exists. Pet. Then what are the columns in the table? Name.
Owner,
So you have
species,
in parentheses, you have, first of all, how many columns are there in the table?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
6.
Okay. Create the table. Create the table. Hit enter. Now type show tables.
Sorry, I already have it.
Semicolon.
Array.
Give a semicolon, not a problem. Semicolon, enter.
Pet.
Now, how will you know? Let's say you had created it a long time back. You forgot how many columns are there, what data types each column were. DSC or describe, you can write. Yes. This will give an idea of the field or attributes or columns are same thing. Field, attribute, columns, name of the same thing. Type stands for data type. Okay. Now let us discuss what is the difference between varchar and char. Have we discussed this?
No, not yet.
Not into data types, right? Okay, let's discuss. It's a good option.
Varchar can have variable length, the character size.
As in, so let's say, let's take a small example. Let's say name is varchar 20 and just consider owner is cat 20. Okay, just assume owner is cat 20. So what will be the difference between varchar 20 and cat 20?
Cat 20 should have exactly 20 characters.
So if I try to give my name, let's say AKSH, 5 characters, will it not take?
It won't take. If
Okay,
we give
but
cat 20.
Okay. Anyone else with any other answers?
Char has like a fixed size, so it has to be that many numbers. Where char has like up to the limit of 20.
255.
No, I'll tell you. You guys are right, but you have got the idea wrong. Varchar 20 versus cat 20 means cat 20, I can store Akash in both. Varchar 20 as well as cat 20. Doesn't matter. I can store up to 20 characters in both in cat 20 as well as Varchar 20. They will act the same. And I cannot store more than 20 characters in any of them. If I try to store 21 characters in char also, it will fail. If I try to store varchar also 21 characters, that will also fail. The difference is in the memory that is taken internally. In a char data type, let's say cat 20, if I'm trying to store 5 characters, like my name Akash, it will still take 20 bytes internally. Doesn't matter if you're storing 1 character, 5 character, or 20 characters. It is fixed sized column. The size refers to the internal space being taken. It's always going to take 20 megabytes. Or not megabytes, too much, 20 bytes. But a varchar is flexible. Varchar, if you store my name, 5 characters, it will only take 5 bytes in memory. If you store 1 character, it will take 1 byte. If you store 20 characters, it will take 20 bytes. So the size of a varchar depends on the actual number of characters stored in that column. It's as simple as that. Var means variable sized character. Char means just fixed size character. That's how you will distinguish between them. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. What is the implication? So everyone might think that then varchar is a superior data type or superior column type. Why won't we use varchar all the time? Why will we even use char at all? Because varchar will also allow you to store 20. So char will also do that. The advantage is char data types are faster. Because internally, if you think about it, chars are fixed in size. What data structure is fixed? Array. And arrays are faster, and varchars are flexible or dynamic. And what data structure is dynamic? Linked list. Linked list are slower in terms of searching and things like that. So when will you use char and when will you use varchar? For things like name, addresses, city names, use varchar because you don't know how many characters will be there in a person's name. It will vary, of course, from person to person. Let's say city name will also vary from city to city, country name, things like that. But if you are denoting, like one of the good examples here is, let's say, sex. Let's say you are just denoting M or F as the sex, or let's say section in a school database. Let's say section is A, B, C, D, these kind of single characters, or not even that. Let's consider IPL team codes, maximum 2 characters, right? Or 3 characters, MI, CSK, RR, 2 to 3 characters, definitely not more than that. Or maximum, I think, is Punjab, KXIP, 4 characters. You can take up till 4. So all search operations involving that column will be fast, and there is no much difference. Even if you are storing RR, it's 2 bytes. If you're storing KXIP, it is 4 bytes. Not much of a difference internally. You are not getting too much of memory loss. So it's okay to make this trade-off because using this column will be faster. Wherever you are not sure of doing this, someone's name can be 2 characters, someone's name can be 20 characters. It makes no sense for you to use char over there. You will get much more advantage using varchar by saving memory. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Date, do I need to explain? You guys already know, right? What
Yes,
it
sir.
means.
Data.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. So this is a description. Now let's insert a couple of rows. Can you go back to the same? I think documentation will have a couple of commands to insert. Did that click on next? Loading data into a
Can
table.
use describe also instead of DS.
DSC is nothing but shorthand for describe.
Yeah. Local data, local.
No, it's load data. Okay.
Yeah.
You can yes, load this one row. Load data in file is used to load data from a file, typically a CSV file or a formatted file, into the table. Just enter. Now, how do you see the data of a table? Select spelling is wrong. Select spelling is wrong. SCLE.
Acha, oh, sorry.
See, you have to erase the whole thing now. That's why I advise not to write here. But anyways, now it's preliminary stage, fine. Not a problem. Good. Yes. So this is how, and you can run, you can even insert multiple rows with an insert into statement. You can delete rows by running delete from pet. You can update, you can do all of the CRUD operations typically there, right? So this is your basic premise. What I would like you guys to do before next session, and it will take a bit of time, 2 things. First, go through each of the data types available in MySQL. Okay, and also if you guys are going Postgres, same, almost all the data types will be same, not much of a difference. You can go through that also, each of the data type, and not just the names of the data types. Rather, what is the difference between them? Like you will find, for example, I'll give you a food for thought. You will find a data type called date time. You will also find a data type called timestamp. Both of them, if you look at the format of the data they are storing, they are the same. They will look the same to you, date time and timestamp. But why do then 2 different data types exist? You should always question yourself, if there is a reason for both of these existing, there is a difference between them. That means, and there is a difference when to use what. So try to find that out. What is the use or purpose or reason of a data type? So, right, where to use it, where to not use it. That's the level I want you guys to go into. I'll of course discuss that, but I want you to do a preliminary research on it. That's one. right? So on all data types in MySQL, there are different categories of data types also, like string types such as varchar, char, etc., blob, glob, and there are numerical types, of course, int, decimal, tiny int, small int, when to use tiny int, when to use small int, what is the range, what is the number of values, or what kind of values we can store. Then there are cardinal types like date, time, timestamp. Then there are some other types as well. There is enum, a very useful and good one. That's one. Okay. And second thing you will need to know is have a bit of clarity on how to create primary key, foreign key, these kind of indexes. Okay. And unique constants, and when to use them. What are the different ways of creating them? There is not one way. There is three ways in SQL for making a column primary key. There are three different syntaxes. Alternate. They're all the same, but what is the difference and which one is the best one? So if you find it out, and then if you can create these tables and link them using foreign keys, we can have an easier time in the next session. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, can you help me with my
Yes, sir.
terminal?
You can stop sharing,
I'll
Vanshika. The
Yeah.
Vanshika, I'll help you.
So this MySQL doesn't have any UI directly where we can do a workbench basically.
It does, but it's not needed. Rather use dbeaver. It's better. You don't need, for now, don't get into any UI. I will suggest that. When you are learning initially, try to
Huh?
get acquainted with commands. That will give you a good base. Later on, of course, in enterprise, you will work mostly with UI only. But if you have a good hold of commands, that's better for building foundations. Don't go into UI directly. After a month or so, you can go. That will be better.
Okay.
Sir, this is the
Ha,
one.
close PowerShell. You cannot start. I'll tell you the reason first of all why you are not able to run. When Vinod install it, or when any Mac or Linux user install MySQL, it gets installed system wide. So it is available as a command. In Windows, because MySQL itself is a Unix based architecture, so it is compatible natively with Unix based system like Linux or any Ubuntu or such systems, or Mac OS also. But in Windows, it is not natively compatible. In fact, till version 4, you did not even have a MySQL installer for Windows. Till version 5 point something, it wasn't even working properly. You could not run even MySQL on Windows. It was so incompatible. Then they created workarounds, and now it is able to run, but there are certain drawbacks. MySQL server is less stable running on Windows. Second, it doesn't get recognized system wide. If you install it in your system, doesn't get recognized as a system-wide command. In Windows, if you have to add a system-wide command for anything, you have to add it as an environment variable to your environment variables. That's a long process. No need to do that. So since it is not accessible in your system, I'll show it to you briefly. Can you open this PC? C drive. Go to program files where MySQL will be installed, either x86 or somewhere like that. MySQL, it's there. Open, open second one, I guess. Installer is there. Bin. Where is bin directory? Is it not here? One sec. My data. Go back. You've installed it, right?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
this came after installing this open.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's hidden. It will probably be there in App Store. There is a folder called App Store. Uh, in temp folder, it will be there. There will be a MySQL execution.exe file, basically. Okay. So you have to go to that folder, open that folder in your command prompt, and run the command over there. Okay, it's not there here. It's gone out. So it's very complicated. Better, therefore, in MySQL, you get when you open search bar, not here, Windows icon. Click on Windows icon. Hmm. Search for MySQL. Hmm. You have all of these options. You have a workbench, you have a shell. Don't go for shell. Installer is there anyways, you can remove it. Go for the fourth one, MySQL command line client. It will directly open the root user. You can just enter the password, whatever password you have set. See, you are there in the same window now as her. Got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sometimes I'll also show you one more thing. This is for Windows people. Close this. Right click on your taskbar. Task manager. Open task manager. Open last option, services. That's the services. Last one. Left ribbon bar. Left ribbon bar. There is a puzzle icon. Left ribbon bar. Yep. Click on that. Scroll down to M. You see a service MySQL. What's its status? Running. Sometimes when you will install, it will ask you start MySQL at startup. If you have not selected that, if you shut down your system and you restart it, it will be stopped by default. Okay. Then you will try to open that MySQL client and you will enter the password. It will automatically terminate. It will not even show any error message. It will just quit abruptly. Okay. So know that when that happens, that this MySQL service has stopped here. So come over here, right click on this. Whenever that happens, you can stop it. Then it will show you an option for starting. Okay. If it is stopped, it will show you an option for starting. Yes, you can start it. Then it will work properly. Okay. Just know that.
In the shell, we don't have to do anything, right?
Huh?
This
No,
shell,
no, no,
my
no, no, no. It's a bit, you don't have to do anything. Okay. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yes, whatever I
Yes,
told
sir.
you, yeah, go through that and try to just get your hands a bit dirty with MySQL. Just create a few things, do some practice, some basic CRUD operations. That's it. And try to understand those concepts that I've asked you. Just a heads up, probably next Tuesday, it might not happen the session. I'll try to see if we can do it on a Wednesday or a Friday. I'll check once next Wednesday or Friday because Tuesday I'm going on a leave, so I'll probably not be available. I'll
So
let.
Fridays we have maths tutorial.
I know. So I was thinking of Wednesday or something. But we'll send the official confirmation to you. Till then, mm, don't assume anything. Okay. The confirmation will be sent to you on mail when and what will happen. Okay. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
So,
Thank you, sir.
how we will be using Git,
How you will be using?
GitHub, like you told us to install in previous class?
Not install, create an account, right? Have you created an account on GitHub?
Yeah.
I'll show it to you in the next session. We have
Yes, sir,
some.
we have created it, but how? What should we do it now?
I'll show you. I'll show you. Now it's not required. Next session it will be required. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.